On this week's episode, should Manchester United have left Nottingham Forest with all 3 points? We take a look at United's January transfer needs. There's a preview of the upcoming match against Tottenham Hotspur, and we dissect United's podcast with Director of Football Jason Wilcox. All this and much more on Fergie's Gum, a Manchester United podcast. Hello and welcome to Fergie's Gum. My name's Nathan Irvine and I am joined by the original, the co-founder of Fergie's Gum. He's back and it's just the two of us, like old times. Is Ahmad Doher. How are you doing, mate? How are things?
I'm good. All good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. Although my dog Eric has started barking outside the door, so I'm going to let him in. Eric, obviously named after Eric Cantona, who made it into the Fergie's Gum Hall of Fame not so long ago. Go listen to that episode. But we're not here to talk about my dog. We're here to talk about all things Manchester United, as usual. Should we say where Cropper is? He's in bed, I guess. What time is it back in the UK? We're recording at 9 o'clock in Dubai. So it's 5 a.m. in the UK. So yes, it's too early.
Yeah,
too
makes
early
sense.
too early for Mr. Cropper. And too short notice for Ethan. So it's just the two of us. Just the two of us, like old times, mate. Right, okay, let's get into it. So, Nottingham Forest. We'll start with this.
Here's the delivery from Mbumo towards the back post. It is Casemiro that gets up. Dorgu tries to turn it home. Comes out to Ahmad. Ahmad fires home! Oh, it's a screamer from the Ivorian! Thumps it in left-footed on the volley from the edge of the D. That's a piece of magic from Ahmad. Unbelievable, and it's 2-2 against Nottingham Forest.
And 2-2 it stayed after that fantastic finish from Ahmad. But I wanted to check with you because obviously we were talking about it in the WhatsApp group, but none of us seem to have actually mentioned this. Do you feel it was a point earned or 2 points dropped?
I think it felt like it was 2 points dropped just because of our performance in the first half and how we conceded the 2 goals that we did. So I think, the game was there for the taking. The 3 points were there for us, but unfortunately, we again some mistakes like always, lapse of concentration, and it was 2 points dropped. But again, at the same time, it did feel like a good point. Like it wasn't bad. Like I didn't feel bad after the game. So it was just like mixed feelings, honestly.
I think the big thing is that there seems to be more mental strength to the players now. Like as Amorim said in the post-match interview, we'd have lost that game 3 or 4 goals last season, just because they were mentally fragile. But I think to come back and to almost win the game. Remember, Ahmad had that goal, had that shot cleared off the line in the dying minutes. So I think that is a positive. I know Nottingham Forest were there for the taking, but I think it's something that you can definitely build on. And I feel like the players they're trying to win games rather than, oh, let's just hold on for a point, or let's just hold this lead. I really feel like they're trying to go for it. You touched on it there a second ago. There are still defensive mistakes that Manchester United are making, and that's one of the issues that we've seen all season. I wrote about this in the Fergie's Gum newsletter, which you can get from fergiesgumpodcast.com. It's free, so you can check out the player ratings there. But it's not just the usual suspects. It's not just Dalot, or Shaw. I think collectively, especially against Nottingham Forest, they just had these moments where they just kept switching off, and it was like, what, lads, what are you doing? And that's the worrying thing, because to win a Premier League, to get top 4, to finish in the European spots, you've got to be switched on all the time. Look at Arsenal; they've barely conceded a goal this season. Was that something that worried you, looking at that defense?
Yeah, it worries me that it doesn't feel like that we are keeping clean sheets. I think this is an issue. I think we're always conceding. We're having to put in extra effort to win the game. For example, against Burnley, we had to score last minute. Against Fulham, we missed the plan. Like whatever, like we were always conceding, so we have to put in that effort. I think once you get to that point where you can win 1-0, that's when you feel okay that the team is actually going somewhere. So yeah, like that game felt like a 1-0 game. Like if we against Forest, like if we actually defended well, then it would have ended 1-0 and it would have been amazing. But
Yeah.
uh, I think we're still at that stage where we're uh, once you get to that stage of not conceding, then you know that you're actually going. You know you got to that level that you wanted. I think we're still in that process. Like you said, there are improvements. The mentality of the players. There is resilience. There is something building. Um, I think we would have lost that game easily last season, or even like 4 or 5 weeks ago. So that's why I felt like okay, it's not a bad point to take. Forest away is never an easy place. Sean Dyche, first home game. So yeah, I'll take the point, but we have to build up like in the next games. So we have to keep the momentum going. But if this feels like breaks the momentum, then it's gonna be really bad.
Yeah, one of the weird things about that performance was the way that the all of the defenders got dragged to one side, and it was almost like they were panicking, or they just didn't understand where they should be at certain times. And I mean that for the entire back line, from Shaw to Yoro to De Ligt to Ahmad to Dallo, who obviously we'll talk about those more in a second. But when you look at Ahmad conceding, well, he's going up against Morgan Gibbs-White. And here's an interesting stat for you. Morgan Gibbs-White is shorter than Ahmad. There's
No
an
way.
interesting. He is 100%. If you look at their height listings on across Wikipedia, across Transfer Market, if you look wherever, he's actually shorter than Ahmad. So when we're talking about, you originally look at that and think, Morgan Gibbs-White, there's a reason they have weight classes in combat sports. He's absolutely battered Ahmad there. But no, he should have been a bit stronger, Ahmad. He should have been able to get up and try and battle with him, but he's not a defender. If I'm Ahmad, I'm looking across at Dallo doing nothing. I'm looking across at Shaw marking space. I'm looking across at De Ligt, who's been dragged over. And Yoro is the person that should be marking Morgan Gibbs-White in that position. And that for me, it was a bit weird. There was a couple of occasions where that happened, and I'm like, what is going on? Because they've been defensively quite resolute over the last few weeks, and it looks like they started to have that telepathy with each other. And then to see that, I was like, what are you doing, lads? So I felt a bit sorry for Ahmad, and I think he probably, if I was him, I'd have been calling those guys out and saying, what the hell are you doing? Because it was a disaster in terms of defending. We'll talk about your favourite player, because I know you love him so much. Diogo Dalot. And again, it's not a scapegoating thing, but he can't play that left wing back position, can he?
He can't play that left wing back position. He can't play that right wing back position. He can't. I don't know. He's a good, again. Like you always say, he's a good squad player. But when you can't consistently start him in games. Like I don't know. Because he always has this moment that he loses concentration, that he makes a mistake. I don't know what happens. Like it's like he zones out of the game. Like suddenly, like I don't know what happens to him, and it always costs us. Like it trickles into the other players as well. And going forward, he's not offering enough. That's what I think. But again, like Dorgo's not offering enough, so I don't know, like if it makes a difference.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The only reason that Diogo Dalot is in the side at the moment is because he's slightly better than Patrick Dorgu, which it's a strange one though, because you've got there's 2 points here. Luke Shaw has been known throughout his career, from when Jose Mourinho highlighted it back when he was in charge of Manchester United. He has a habit of switching off, and he needs to be coached through games. Now, Shaw now has Diogo Dalot on that side where he switches off as well. And you can't have the two of them working in tandem like that. So when it works, it's okay. Like against Liverpool, it was fine. But when you consistently going through the season, you cannot have two players that all of a sudden, there's the pinball noise going around in their brain and they don't even know where they are anymore. They're just looking around and, oh, we conceded. You can't have that. I think, and we'll talk about the Spurs game in a second, but I think if Diogo Dalot is not going to be there next season, let's be honest, he's probably not. I don't think he will be. He might be still in the squad, but I doubt he will be there next season. Ruben Amorim needs to start playing the person that is going to be there next season. If that is Patrick Dorgu, I'm assuming he will stay next season. If it's Harry Amas, who I can see Manchester United cancelling his loan move at Sheffield Wednesday because they're in an absolute turmoil at the moment. Or if it's someone else, like in January, can't keep playing Diogo Dalot there. And until you get someone better, you've got to play at least, or Diego Leon, for example. You have to play one of those. You have to play one of those because it's just not going to work in the long run. Would you agree with that?
To a certain extent, but at the moment, I think Diogo Dalot, he offers the experience. That's the only reason he's playing.
Player of the season a couple of seasons ago, by the way.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if he can go back to that level, then okay. Like, there is some potential there that can help the team. But Dogo started the season at left wing back and he didn't do enough to cement his place in the team. So Diogo Dalot against Liverpool, I thought he was good. Honestly, I think he locked up Salah. But the thing with Diogo Dalot, and especially in this system, again, as a left wing back, as right wing back, you have to offer a lot going forward so that the team can function, and he doesn't do that, And you can't have these lapses of concentration and defense. So I think it's an issue. Like these wing back positions, even on the right, Ahmad is good and all, but you can't play him every game. And there's no one else like Mazraoui. I don't think he's cut out for the right wing back role. So I think these are priority positions to be addressed. And I don't know about the other options that we have right now to play left wing back. I don't know about Dorgo. Definitely not about Diego Leon. So I'm not sure they're gonna do anything in the January transfer window. So we have to make do. Like maybe you stick with Dallo for now, because you don't have any other option.
What a terrible situation to be in. One thing that I did want to add to this is that I was out with. We had Stephen Ward, who used to play for Wolves and Burnley, Republic of Ireland. We had him on the radio show that I'm the producer on recently, and he obviously played fullback. And we was chatting to him. He's a big Manchester United fan, by the way, and he's just moved out here. But we was chatting to him, and he was like, "I'm a fullback. Whenever I was asked to play wing back, I hated every second of it." He said it's not a natural position for a fullback to play. So to your point, what you were saying before about having to keep Diogo Dalot in there because he has that experience, yeah, and he offers little going forward. Again, he's a fullback. He's not a wing back. Ahmad exactly the same, square peg round hole. And it's, these professional players, you expect them to just go on the pitch and be able to do exactly what they need to do. But, Stephen Ward there saying, you can't just do that. Even though it's just slightly further up the pitch, it's just impossible to get your head around, right, this is a completely new thing that I need to do. So, let's see what happens. We're going to talk about any potential January signings soon as well. So we'll leave it there. But one person that I did want to ask you about, Elliot Anderson, after Carlos Baleba the week before fluffed his lines with his audition for Manchester United at Old Trafford, had a terrible game, hooked on 59 minutes. Do you think Elliot Anderson did any more to show that he should be in Manchester United's plans for the future?
I think he was brilliant against us. I think he showed why the noise around him is being hyped up so much now. Like all the big teams are after him. The prices that are being quoted for him, I don't agree with the prices, but there is a player there that can. He's starting to remind me of Declan Rice at West Ham when he first coming onto the scene. The player that can do everything, that can control the game, that can defend, that covers ground. So yeah, I think if he continues on this trajectory, then I think he's gonna go for 100 million or like close to that in the summer, because a player like this can change a whole team. If it's United, I don't know. But I do think like if he does come to United, he would take us up a level.
It'll be interesting to see what happens if they get relegated, because that 100 million will likely drop to a more affordable fee for Elliot Anderson. But yeah, I think you're right. He's a very good option for the summer, if not January. But we're going to talk about where Manchester United are right after this break and whether or not we're going to make any purchases in the January transfer window. As teased before the break, we are 10 games into, well, depending on when you're listening to it, 10 games into the Premier League season. We have got Spurs up next. We've had a good time to kind of look at the squad. I know we talked about it in previous weeks, always too early to talk about summer transfers, too early to talk about January transfers. But 10 games in, I think we've got enough now to look at the body of work that Manchester United are producing and what Ruben has in front of him and at his disposal. So I think it's time. I think we can talk about what Manchester United potentially need in January. And I'm going to start off with a big shout, mate. But I think United will spend big on either a midfielder or a wing-back this January window.
You think so? I hope
think
so.
I think they're going to open up the checkbook or the rotating credit facility, I think they call it. It's basically a credit card where they don't pay anything back for about 4 years. But I think that they need to look at those positions that everyone else can see. Us as fans, the team that's out on the pitch, Ruben Amorim, all of the pundits that are watching on TV, they can see it. Manchester United need a solid midfielder and a wing back, and potentially another centre back. But we got Lisandro Martinez coming back, which is why I don't think it'll be a priority. But I think I've got a feeling they're going to spend big in January. But what do you before we move on to that bit about whether they will or won't spend big? How do you think they've been performing over the last 10 Premier League games? Do you think it's good, it's bad, it's average, just what you expected?
I think it's. It is. If at the start of the season you said after 10 games this is where we'd be at, then I would have been like content with it. I would have been okay. That's good. Like 17 points. I don't know. Like what is it? 2 points off second. You would take that 100%. So a lot was made about our games at the beginning of the season. Our loss to Brentford, of course. The draw to Fulham. Yeah, things seemed very grim at the time, but it's getting better. I think we all saw the improvements even when we weren't getting the results. That there is something there. The numbers are there, but we just needed this bit of luck, confidence. So I think I'm happy with where we're at. But we have to keep the momentum because like one loss can
Yeah.
get you another loss after that, and then everything starts falling apart again, and yeah, it could go sour like very fast. So, but for now, I'm happy.
See, I think you touched on it very slightly there, but creating that momentum, I think momentum also comes from refreshing the squad as well. Because what you don't want to do is, and this is why I think that they will spend in January, what you don't want to do is get to that certain part of the season, the February's, the March, April, you're going into the tail end of the season with a squad that are used to finishing in the doldrums. What was it last season? 17th? 15th?
15.
15th. You don't want that to start spreading through the squad. I know we've got Matthias Cunha, I know we've got Brian Mbeumo, I know we've got Senna Lamans and Benjamin Sesko that are all like, they're new players, they're fresh to it. But what you don't want is, as you say, one defeat suddenly leads to another one, to another one, to another one. The mentality of those players is still fragile from the players that were there last season. I think it needs a refresh. I still think that you build momentum by adding players to this current squad, which is why I think a specialist wing back, either on the right or the left, is a must for January. I don't know who that is, but you can see what type of play Manchester United or Ruben Amorim wants to do, and it is entirely reliant on wing backs that can actually do their job, but at both ends of the pitch. So I think they will spend. But if you was to spend money, if they was to give you a like a budget for a certain area of the pitch, what is the first place that you would try and strengthen?
Definitely center midfield, 100%, because I do think that it's like a puzzle is being built, and I do think center midfield and wing backs are almost the final pieces that we have to sort out before we start seeing like a fully functional team. But that midfielder has to be. It's not for me. It's not only one. It has to be two midfielders. But in January, that's impossible. But this midfielder has to be someone who can actually transform the whole team in terms of uh, controlling the game, in terms of breaking up play. So you're looking for a very specific profile that is going to cost you a lot of money, and it's very hard to find. And whatever team has this player, they're never going to give him up in January, like in the middle of the season. So I think it's going to be very tough. I don't want to see him getting someone who's a stopgap, because I don't see the point. Uh, Maybe like someone like Gallagher, I would take, for example, someone who could be a squad player next season. Like someone who you get now, he might do a job for you in the next 6 months, but then like next season, he wouldn't start, but he'd be a good squad player to come on. So someone like that, I wouldn't mind. Um, yeah, central midfield and left wing back. I can say, like in my opinion, in this system, you have to get someone who is a winger that can actually defend, not a defender who can actually attack. That's my opinion. Like if
I
you,
think there's a couple of players like that would be on the radar, and one of them that was talked about, and I don't know, I think they may have inquired about him in the summer, was Antoine Semenyo. He's going to cost big money in the summer because I don't think he will stay at Bournemouth. I think they'll sell. I think they did really well to sell the players that they did last season and then strengthen in the right positions. Bournemouth are a selling club, but I don't think they're a club that retains players when they get a big bid for them, which is working out really well. So I think Semenyo will leave. I don't think he'll leave in January, but he would be the type of player that you would want on that side. And if it was up to me, it would be, it'd be Semenyo on the left, and then the right wing back position would be Denzel Dumfries from Inter, who was available for like 25 million quid in the summer, but obviously, he wasn't on the radar at all. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Any other contenders for those positions?
for sure, I would love Semenyo to be coming to United, but like you said, it's gonna be tough because a lot of clubs are gonna be after him, and it's tough to convince him. Okay, come and play left wing back.
Yeah.
It's not that easy. But someone who I would take, it's a I don't know, it's a shout.
Go
Callum
on.
Hudson-Odoi.
Okay.
I think he would do a really good job on the left wing back. I think he is aggressive. I think he has Prem experience. He's strong. He's quick, and one-on-one, he's amazing. He can put in across with his right foot, left foot. So I think if you add him there, I think you would be giving so much to the attack. So I think Callum Hudson, and he wouldn't be expensive. So I think he's a good shout.
Do you know, we're talking about there's no chance of us signing like a big player in January, but isn't this what big clubs do? When they need to strengthen, they just go and spend that money. So while we're saying, oh, Carlos Baliba might not leave in January, Elliot Anderson might not leave in January, shouldn't United be going knocking on the doors of these clubs and going, yeah, we want him now, 100 mil. We want to take him now. It's going to cost us 100 million in the summer. It's going to cost us 100 million now. Like, let's do it. Let's make that deal.
I think that's doable, but not in the Prem. Like if you go to a Prem club and tell them, I'm gonna pay you 100 million, they're like, okay, I don't need the 100 million. The Prem clubs are all getting paid really well. So I think it's tough doing that in the Prem. But if you go for a club and like Bundesliga or Serie A, they're always going to take the money. So I think that's possible there. But United right now, I think they should focus on players that are playing the Prem. And if you go to Palace, for example, and tell them, okay, I want Adam Morton, I'm going to pay you 100 million or even like 120, they're going to say, I don't need the money right now. I can wait till the summer. I know a lot of clubs are going to be after him. Why would I why would I give you a Wharton now and risk messing up my season midway through? And I can wait like another few months, I'm going to get the same money, So I think that would work with other clubs. But we saw that with the Man City last season.
Yeah.
Like, they went to Bundesliga. They paid for Marmoush, who was one of the best players in the world. Nico Gonzalez for like 50 from Porto. A few defenders here and there for like 50, 40 million. So, but it's tough to do it within the Prem. That's what I think.
Okay. I think that's a fair point. But I think if United are to be the big boys back on the block, I think they need to go and test the resolve of some of these clubs and try and get their long-term vision implemented in January. Whether that happens, I am not sure at all. But we're talking about a lot of incomings. We're in a World Cup year, or we're building up to one. What do you think about the outgoings? Because there's a lot of fringe players that will be sat on the bench at the moment. I mean, they've been in the media. Xerxes, Mainu, they want to leave because they want to try and get some sort of games under their belt so that they can be in the Dutch national side for the World Cup, the English national side. Do you think that these players should just be trying to tough it out, or do you think that a loan move for any of them might be good at this stage?
I think it makes sense for them. I get where they're coming from. Like, why would you want to risk not playing in a World Cup? And it's obvious, for example, Kobe is not getting any minutes. Xerxes is definitely not getting any minutes. So I do feel that it makes sense for them to go out on loan. I can't see it happening though. But what I think is they should wait at least until AFCON comes along. Because like when AFCON comes along, they're going to get minutes. And then that's your chance to prove whether you deserve to play or not. But you can't just, I don't know, just squander your
leave.
chances.
Yeah.
And squander your chances, then complain and then leave. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But I hope Kobe doesn't leave. That's but I can see it happening, unfortunately.
I think you're right with when we're talking about January. It's not just that the transfer window opens and that there's opportunities to bring players in and players can leave. I think AFCON is going to have a massive effect on Manchester United, probably in a way that it hasn't done before. Bryan Mbeumo is going to be an incredible miss down that side. So is Ahmad. Then you've got what's his name? Mazraoui at right wing back. That entire right side could be completely decimated during AFCON. And you need these players to be ready to go. There have to be replacements for them. So during AFCON, surely you've got to be seeing Xerxes playing more games, whether it's from a position that whether it's from like central striker or it's from right wing or left wing. Surely he's got to play a few more games because there's not that many more players in front of him. Same with Ugarte. We've got. I mean, we'll have to spread them out. It will be like a rotation thing. So there's no one leaving from midfield for the AFCON, but you can see Bruno being pushed further up the pitch. If Bruno gets pushed further up the pitch, that then leaves a hole in the midfield where Mainu can go, where Ugarte can go. Mainu can also play a bit further up. But I don't know if these players, especially Xerxes and Mainu, I don't know if they feel that window of 6 games or whatever it is. And if you look at the fixture list, by the way, there's some big games that they could potentially miss in Mbeumo and the rest of the lads. I think one of them is City, the Manchester derby. I think there might be a Liverpool game in there, Newcastle game in there as well. But I think they will probably look at it and go, this isn't enough. If they're not confident in their own ability or they're not confident in Ruben Amorim selecting them in the long term, they might look at that and go, I don't care if it's AFCON or not. I want to get out of it. I just want to play regular games and I want to know that I'm going to go into a team where I've got more of a chance of playing. There's more games and there's more chance of me playing. Do you think that becomes a big factor for those guys, or do you think they can have an impact at Manchester United during January?
I do think both of them can have a huge impact. And I think we're gonna need them, honestly. I think we're gonna need both of them. Uh, Even if it wasn't a big game like against City or Liverpool, but that, Christmas period along with Boxing Day, New Year's, there's a lot of games crammed in there, and usually that does make or break a season. Because if you do win all these games, because a lot of points are being dropped all around you. So I do think they have a chance to prove themselves. But for example, for Kobe, I don't think he should be short-sighted because, okay, even if he doesn't play this season, I know he might miss out on a spot in the England squad, but next season he is gonna play. Like, he's definitely gonna be a starter for us next season because both Bruno and Casemiro, they're probably not gonna be there. So he has to rough it out. I don't know if maybe if going on loan makes sense. I don't know. Like, I'm conflicted about it, but because I want him to get minutes, I want him to get into the England squad. But again, you have to stay. You have to show that you can fight for your place. Because
I think we said this. I think it was on the last podcast that you was on, or it might have just been the one that me and Paul did. But at this point, it's the romantic idea of Kobbie Mainoo, the lad from Manchester, the local lad, playing in that side, because all evidence suggests when he has been on the pitch, and I know this might sound unfair, but he doesn't deserve to be taking the place over Bruno or Casemiro. But this is where we're at now. As Manchester United fans, we love the idea of like these local lads coming through. Obviously, growing up in the Northwest, it was it's a dream for every kid and a dream for every fan. Seeing these kids carry on this tradition. But he isn't doing enough, and I think he would probably admit that himself. There's not enough output from him to suggest that he should be in there. Would you say that that's accurate? Have you seen anything else that suggests he should be taking up one of those starting 11 spots?
no, uh, I think even last season he wasn't to his level. I don't know. Was it because of the Euros before that? He didn't have a preseason, or I don't know what. But even last season, he had a lot of chances to show that, okay, I'm the player to grab the game by its neck and like control everything. But he's not he's not been doing that. And when he's coming on this season, he's not showing that I have to start next season. But I do think that he's a player that needs consistent minutes and a consistent run of games so that he can get up to speed. And once he does get up to speed, he is one of the best. He can be like definitely one of the best midfielders in the league and maybe the world. He has the talent, but it's a sticky situation because right now I wouldn't take out Bruno or Casemiro for him. No chance. And the system, it's also not ideal for Kobe, unfortunately. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen with that, but I do hope like that he finds a way to stay at United, not just because he's like local lad, which we all love, we all want. Again, like I said, like a United fan always wants to see academy players, becoming the best in the world. But it's because he's actually so talented and he has a lot of and when he goes to another team, if he does, he's gonna show that. Yeah, like we're gonna regret it. We always do. We always do that. We always do the same mistake. Honestly, we have so many examples.
Would you say that Alejandro Garnacho is one of those prime examples right now?
Yeah. Honestly, it's so funny watching Chelsea fans suffer. Like they all go crazy.
Up next for Manchester United, it is Spurs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. A game that, well, if it wasn't for the morale boosting win over Copenhagen on Wednesday, I think it was, in the Champions League, I would have said United could go there and definitely walk over them because they looked awful. They've had terrible home form, so it's still okay to play them at this point. I think they struggled for was it 2-3 shots they had, not one on target against Chelsea, in their 1-0 defeat to them the other day. So I think it's a game that Manchester United could go there and win. I think it's a good time to play Spurs. They beat us every single time we faced them last season, so we definitely owe them one.
Yeah. our record there is awful, honestly. The last when was the last time we beat them at their ground?
Was it White Hart Lane?
No, it was the game where, yeah, it was Solskjaer when Cristiano scored, Cavani scored. Do you remember? We beat
Oh
them
God,
3-0. So it
yeah.
was a long time ago. So I don't. We always seem to go there and play well, but we never get a result. So that happens under Ten Hag, I think, a couple of times. Even last season, we should have won, but we lost 1-0. So I do think we're in a good position to win. I do think that we have players to hurt them, and I think I watched them against Chelsea last week. Honestly, they're awful. They're awful. They can't attack. They the only way they might score against us is through a set piece. That's what I think. Otherwise,
Mm.
I don't think they have a chance. So there is a good chance that we win, but we have to start well, and we have to take our chances again.
The one thing that we definitely have to do is stop Mickey van der Ven from running from deep. He did that against us and scored a great goal at Old Trafford, and he did that against Copenhagen on Wednesday, which he just ran through the entire team. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was like Son's goal of the season from a few seasons ago against West Ham. Was just running in a straight line, but he's got such great acceleration. It's difficult to stop him. I would question the Copenhagen goalkeeper as well, because he looks like it looked like he may have had a bet on that, and it was for a lot of goals to concede, because he kept coming out of his area and just completely messing up. So anyway, they had a nice result there. One thing that I did want to talk about though is, I think for me, my perspective, this is the type of game where you want to start Cunha up front, with Mount playing in there as well. I thought Sesko, I don't think he had the greatest of games. I think he and Links play well. I think his off the ball movement is fantastic, but I just don't think that telepathy with his teammates is quite there yet. Would you say that? Would you rather have Mount starting and Cunha up front, or would you stick with what we had on against Forest the other day?
I've been thinking about that for the past few days, and I think I would start Sasko. I would start Sasko because I like having the option of going long, especially against teams that press high, like Spurs, who leave a lot of gaps in behind. Um, I think Sesko can offer you more than just holding up play, winning headers. He also links up play. So Mount for me starts when you're playing against a team that controls the midfield. So when a team has like when they want to play 3-4 players in midfield, that's when you play Mount so that he can drop in. But I don't think Spurs and their midfield isn't great, honestly. They're playing even Palhinha. He's been getting criticism. Sarr hasn't been up to it. Bentancur is average. So I don't think you need to overcrowd the midfield. I think you can hurt them more by playing Sasko and just you know outnumbering them in their
Mm.
own half. So for me, Sasko starts again, and he can score
Okay.
a goal, and I think he will.
Okay. I think basically the key to victory for Manchester United is to be on the front foot as well, because that's what Chelsea did. It wasn't a possession game. They wanted to get forward as quick as possible to try and get as many goals as they could. Obviously they only came away with one, but when you've got Mbumo, when you've got Sesko or Cunha, you've got Mount, you've got those players that are constantly pressing forward, and you've got a leaky defence, the best form of defence is attack. So you need to get them forward. I wanted to ask you actually, because Sesko's been in the news again. Gary Neville's got this weird thing about him where he's not having him at all. Now I know Neville played with some of the best strikers that you could possibly ask for at Manchester United. He played with Van Nistelrooy. He was in like the same team as like Andy Cole and Dwight York. But he just some of the things that he keeps saying about him, and the contrasting way that he talks about Victor Gyökeres, who is also floundering but scoring against like lower teams. It's just weird. useful battering ram is something that he describes Victor Gyökeres with. But then on the other side, and I think we've talked about this before, on the other side, he's like, oh, I'm not convinced by Benjamin Sesko. It's like, what's going on? Do you feel like there's like a little bit of an agenda because he's signed for Manchester United?
I think Gary Neville, he always likes to try and show people, oh, I'm not biased towards United, and he just says stuff to try and prove that. And a lot of time it doesn't make sense, like this time. I don't get how you can watch Sesko and watch Gyökeres being a football man, a football pundit with so much experience, and then think Gyökeres is doing better than Sesko. Even Arsenal fans themselves are saying Sesko is doing better than Gyökeres. Like, I don't get it. If you actually watch United, even when Sesko is not scoring, and he did score, like he did score 2 goals in the league, which is okay, not amazing, but it's not like he's on a drought. But if you watch Sesko, you can see the hold up play, his touches, the link up he's doing, the space he's creating for Mbeumo and Cunha to shine. Like it's not just he's not doing badly at all. I don't get why you and he's a young player. So why would you want to put that added pressure on a player that plays for your club and just create all this noise around him for no reason? I don't get it. Like,
Well, one thing I will say about that as well is that Sesko only has like 1 game a week to play and to prove himself, whereas Gyökeres, obviously, it's United's fault they're not in Europe, they're knocked out of the League Cup, but 1 game a week and that's it. You get 90 minutes plus a week to show what you can do. Gyökeres, other strikers in the league, they're playing in Europe, they're still in the League Cup. They've got lots of games to get their feet, and Sesko doesn't have that currently. So I found it a bit odd. And it's not just Gary Neville. There's other pundits as well that are like leaning on him. There was that weird Athletic article about the agents that said that the worst transfer this season was Benjamin Sesko as well. Again, just feels like there's a bit of an agenda about it. But anyway, coming back to the actual Spurs game, whoever starts up front, do you think that, and I mentioned it before, do you think that Dalot should continue to start at left wing back, or do you think that this is a game where you put Dorgu in and see if we can get something out of him?
I think, honestly, both of them are like, I don't know what to choose because none of them are convincing. But I think Dorgu against Spurs, he's been doing. He played well. I think the 2 times he played against Spurs, he did well. And I do think there is space in behind Pedro Porro, like a lot that you can expose. So I think if you play Dorgu, but he needs to be more efficient with what he's doing in the final third. He always seems to get in those positions, but his crosses aren't accurate. He doesn't make the right decision. He's never like a goal threat. So I don't know. Like Andalo, he offers nothing going forward. Not even crosses, not even anything. But for me, maybe I would go for Dorgu this game just because, Dalo showed that he doesn't deserve to start after the past 2 games.
I think Dalot, more than anything, needs saving from himself just to be taken out of the limelight for a little bit, have a bit of time on the bench, and then maybe come back refreshed. So it's one of those games where it's probably not a great one to start him after he had such a stinker against Forest. And I think it wasn't just the defensive lapses, it was just he offered nothing, as you said before. He didn't offer anything at all. So I would be starting Dorgu. I think, I'll throw this out there, I think when Martinez comes back, if he can come back to any type of form that he had previously, I think him and Heaven will rotate that left centre-back role. And I think Luke Shaw will be pushed back to left wing-back. And I think that could probably work in Amorim's favour because Shaw does offer more going forward. I think we'll lose a little bit of pace at the back by not having Luke Shaw there, but I think he is better operating from that left wing-back position. Score prediction, what are you saying?
I'll say 1-0 United.
1-0 United. I'm going to say 0-0. I'm going to go with a 0-0 draw. And I'm going to say my FPL pick this week will be Senna Lamans as well, because he's underpicked by a lot of teams. And I think I think Spurs will have a few shots, and I think he might pick up the bonus and the clean sheet. So that's what I'm going for. Who's your pick?
Bruno again. I think
Bruno.
Bruno. Yeah, he's a bonus point magnet, and he always seems to score or assist. So yeah, Bruno for me.
I'm gonna spring this on you. You didn't know that I was gonna do this, but there have been 8 players that have played for both Manchester United and Spurs in the Premier League era. How many of them can you name right now?
Should I start? Okay,
Yeah,
so
sure. Let's go.
okay. Berbatov,
Correct.
Sheringham.
Correct.
What's Ericsson?
Yeah, that's 3. 5
Uh,
more. Come on, lad.
I want to say Andy Cole. Or I don't think he played for Spurs now.
No.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
you're in the right ballpark of
Yeah.
strikers.
Oof.
I'll give you 45 seconds to try and name them.
I'm drawing a blank. I keep thinking like Tom Huddleston, but
No, just on the coaching staff.
yeah.
Just
Is it
Go on,
is it
then.
recent?
yeah, there's recent and there's older ones as well.
Ericsson.
I'm gonna back you to get at least 2 in the next 30 seconds, but
When you
I
say
don't-
30 seconds, he puts pressure on you.
I know exactly, but that's it. So just imagine you're Dallo, you're out there, you're playing, you got the pressure, you can't switch off now. Come on.
That's why
What
I'm
is
not
it?
being paid like 200K a
Come
week.
on.
Uh,
There was one that was only a couple of seasons ago. If you can get that one, we'll move on.
couple of seasons. Striker,
No,
winger,
defender.
defender. Couple of seasons. Reguilon.
Yes,
Mm.
there we go. I'll put you out of your misery with the other ones. The other ones were Michael Carrick,
Yeah, Carrick for sure.
Fraser Campbell.
Yeah, he went on a swap deal with Berbatov, right?
Yeah. Louis Saha. I think that was the one that
that's a
you
big
was thinking
one.
of instead of Cole. And Zeki Friars.
Wait, did he
Zeki
play?
Friars.
Did he ever start for us? I don't think he was in the academy though.
Friars.
Yeah.
He was a Manchester United player.
Wow.
He played for both. So yeah, and I know you really want to have your little the indiscretions. Yeah. What can I call back here? Right. Okay. You did well though. You did well. I might throw that in every week and see how Cropper does as well. Right, no Gummers mailbag this week because that lives with Cropper. He does all the trolling of our social media and our emails as well. Which is, hang on, have we ever given out our email? Yeah, because we do get correspondence to the fergiesgumpodcast@gmail.com, right? I'm
I think
asking you.
it's on the website. Probably.
Yeah, I do this all the time. I always put you on the spot with this stuff, and neither of us know what it is. But the last thing that I wanted to talk about was obviously Jason Wilcox and Phil Jones made an appearance on Inside Carrington, which I've only just come across. Apparently, it's been going for a long time. Hosted by Johnny Evans' wife, Helen. I think there's another guy on it as well who does MUTV. Can
The
never
commentator.
remember his name. Yeah, I can never remember his name. And I should have done my research before even talking about it. But anyway, I listened to it. I assume you did as well. Thought it was amazing access to Jason Wilcox. Johnny Evans was then who's the head of pathways for loans and transfers at Manchester United. He was on Sky Sports. The big thing that I wanted to talk about, obviously we'll go to the Inside Carrington episode in a second, but it really does feel like Manchester United are trying to get ahead of the noise and answer these things that are going around in the media through their own means right now. I feel like for so long it was just one voice that would ever talk about Manchester United, but now through these different outlets and through this, the contacts that we have with them. Jason Wilcox, when's the last time you had like a sporting director doing a podcast at a club? I just feel like they're trying to get ahead of all of the noise right now. They say they don't listen to it, but I've got a feeling that this is a new tactic from them. They're coming out, they're going, look, this is what we're doing, this is what we're planning to do. And for me as a fan, I quite like that. Whether it's all BS, you never know. But as a fan, if you're hearing from the sporting director saying, yeah, this is the change that we want to make, this is how we're going, this is the future, this is what we want to aim for, that's good though, right?
Yeah, it's very good. It helps settle things at the club, I think, and it creates um, much more transparency between the club and the fans, which is very important, and which is something that we lacked a lot in the past few years. So I think, yeah, like you said, like Jason Wilcox doing this interview, Sir Jim having an interview every now and then, even Omar Berada. So like it's nice having people from the hierarchy, and getting insights from them and knowing what they're actually thinking. It gives us um, some sense of security, knowing that okay, they are with us and this. It's not like the Glazers, for example. They're in a whole different continent, and we're having to depend on them making the big decisions. So I think it is very important, and it does make things clearer for the fans. And I enjoyed the podcast. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't finish it, but I did listen to most of it. But
Yeah.
he seems like a level-headed guy, and he seems like someone that I would want um, to be the person involved in big decisions, because he seems like he knows what he's talking about, and he's honest, which is very important. And yeah, I enjoyed it.
I think, yeah, the big thing for me was that he was very candid in answering questions. And I know it's like it's Manchester United operated channel, so it's propaganda to a certain extent. They're never going to ask him one of the pressing questions, but they did ask him about, how does it work when you're buying a player? Like, is the noise from outside something that you think about? And I was intrigued by his answers because they did come across as quite raw. I'm sure he'd been reading the questions for weeks up leading up to that appearance, because that's just what happens in media. Especially with someone that's high up, you have to give them the questions so that they can prepare their answers for it. But his answers, such as like, he ignores all of the noise from the media, positive and negative, so that they can stay fairly neutral and balanced throughout. I think that was quite interesting. He then went on and contradicted himself to say that, Ruben Amorim's formation is far more fluid than it's made out. Made out by who? If you're not listening to the noise, then surely that input has come from somewhere, Jason. So do you know what I mean? He's kind of contradicted himself there. But when he's also talking about, like, we're not trying to put together the Harlem Globetrotters, I think a better reference to that would have been the Galacticos, but obviously he doesn't want to name check Real Madrid. That was interesting for me, and I think it's that was basically looking back at the mistakes that were made by the likes of Ed Woodward, where he would bring back Pogba, or he would sign an Alexis Sanchez with a terrible announcement video and things like that. It's good to see that there is a thought process where these players that we're bringing in have to have the right attitude. I think there's been a scattergun approach before. This is me reading between the lines. There's been a scattergun approach before where they may not have done their due diligence on the player and just gone, yes, we're going to sign him. And then find out that he's an absolute wreckhead after he's brought into the club. But it was interesting, that little conversation between Phil Jones and Jason Wilcox, where they were saying, we have to do that due diligence because we can't have those players in the dressing room. And it just gave you a bit more insight of, he knows what he's talking about. He's been there, he's done that, and he knows how important it is, or they both know how important it is to have the right people. So I think that, as a fan, is promising. As you said before, it's not just these invisible people that show up at a cup final out in the States. I think that was, I felt reassured by it, whether it was all like smoke and mirrors or not.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's also very refreshing that we have someone who's a football person in charge of these things as well. especially someone who's English, because like he knows the Premier League. He was a player in the Premier League. He knows the inside out of the Premier League. He's worked in everything, like at in different levels. Like at City, I think it was the academy director or something. And also, he was there when United were at the top of their game. So like he faced the United teams that were actually dominating the Premier League. So I do think that he's a very good person to have to, again, to like make the big decisions. And like from what we read about him as a personality, he's level-headed. He's calm. He doesn't like he doesn't like the limelight. So I do think if there is a chance for anything to change at United, I do think he's going to be a big part of it.
I'll definitely be tuning into Inside Carrington for more, because I think the plan is now, because it's gone down so well, I think the plan will be to get more of those executives into the studio to talk about certain aspects, because that way they control the narrative. I know I said that at the top of the segment, that they get to control the noise. They get to set the agenda by coming out and saying things first. So I quite like that. And then it kind of avoids the grey areas that a lot of the media operate in. Not all of them, but a lot of the media operate in, especially the clickbait merchants, where they're, this is happening at Manchester United and that's happening, and they can come out and just say, yeah, this isn't happening, that's not happening, or these other things. One last thing that I did want to say, to get your take on it, and I may have mentioned this before on WhatsApp, and I don't want to sound like an ITK here, but it was put to me that one of the key members of the leadership team at Manchester United, that group that was formed by Ruben Amorim, they basically said, they came out and they mentioned that, and again, it was off the record, so I'm not gonna, I won't throw them under the bus with this, but they kind of mentioned that he's a nice guy, but in terms of man management, he's not quite there. I think, like, he says the right things out to the media, and he talks about things brilliantly, but behind the scenes, in terms of like that arm around the shoulder that Fergie was famous for, that Jose Mourinho is as well, it's just not there. Do you think that has, like, and I know we're going back to the previous segment before, do you think that has an effect on those players thinking that they're not going to get game time? We're talking about like Kobbie Mainoo and Joshua Zirkzee.
Yeah, I think if someone was saying that, I think that's what they would be alluding to, because I think it's tough for any manager to keep a squad happy when he can't give minutes to everyone, especially when we're playing one game a week, and especially when things aren't going so well, because it affects him. And obviously, he's a very emotional guy. So even if you watch his press conferences and you look at his face when we were at that, we were not winning. And for example, yesterday I was watching the video of the press conference. He looks like a different person. So I do think maybe it's something he needs to work on, but honestly, like I don't really care that much, because his priority is winning. And if a player like needs an arm around their shoulder, he can lie to them and say, okay, don't worry, yeah, you're gonna get minutes, okay, you're gonna start for me, and I don't know when. He can do that, but I don't think he's that kind of guy, like he's honest, he's blunt. What he says in the media is, I think, what he says to his players, that, yeah, okay, if you're gonna get some minutes, okay, they're gonna be limited. You're gonna have to prove yourself. I can't promise you that you're gonna get a consistent run of games to prove yourself. So yeah, I do think if the players they feel they can't handle that kind of treatment, then maybe they're not cut out to being at United, honestly. So
That's a fair point, mate, and one well made. Right, that's the end of the podcast. It went by very fast, and I've got to edit and post this in the same 2 hours, so it's gonna be right up against it. But if you do want to follow us on all of our social media channels, or you want to sign up to the free newsletter that we have on Substack, go to fergiesgumpodcast.com. and you will find all of the necessary links there. Thanks again to Ahmad for joining us. It was nice to do this podcast, just the two of us again. Cropper, if you listen to this, and Ethan, it doesn't mean that we don't want you anymore. It just means that this was nice. Like a comfy pair of slippers. So thanks for listening, and we will speak to you after the Spurs game.